We are going to go ahead and kick off this week's AMA. I feel like we didn't give it enough time last week, so we're actually just going to spend about 45 minutes talking about the Halliday partnership. Just kidding. We are going to take questions this week. However, if you didn't catch last week's AMA, which was pretty centered around the Holiday partnership. We didn't have everybody with us because a lot of people were traveling. So we took that time and took questions based on that partnership and talked more about the potentials of that partnership. So if you didn't catch that AMA, I highly recommend you listen to it. It's only about half an hour, but really, really good information. Very excited for that. So looking forward to that. But for this week, new information. So we're going to start off with some updates and then go from updates into some questions. And to start us off, let's go to Dreamer.
Hi, everybody. Bolon, is this my main update? Is this the thing?
Plus whatever else you want to add. But yes, please. Plus
Okay.
anything else you want to add to.
Yeah, I think, last week was a bit busy for me in personal life. So I really appreciate the coverage. Bolon's been crushing it. A lot of things progressing in the background during this market. Looking for unique opportunities for DeFi kingdoms all around. And Bolon, Fox, Mr. Zipper have been progressing some things we won't share the details on quite yet, but really a big shout out to them. We do function well as a team where we are all kind of required to stretch a little bit on what we tend to do normally, and always kind of doing way more than I think most would expect from like a traditional job. But really happy to be back. It was a tiring personal week, but it was one that, upon coming back, it's really good to get back into work and have different levels of busy. So excited to be back. One thing that we've had updated this past week in our tokenomics committee, we've been talking about this for a while, really thinking about features that will be coming out, how they'll be using certain tokens in the game, and what the best way to treat each of these features really is, from a number of angles. One of those angles is fees and fee distribution. We've updated our, I think we call it like just normal distribution. We've updated it once, I think, about 8 months ago. We increased the burn amount from 1% to 5%, I believe, back then. We've been considering a lot during this market and looking at the various tokens, and the upcoming features that will, some might use Jewel, some might be using Crystal and Jade. And we concluded as a committee that it would be wise to increase the overall burn on that normal distribution bucket from 5% to, at this point, moving it to 25%. So that's a very large increase on that bucket. That means that not only 1/4 of all gas of DFK chain Jewel will be burned, and also all the burns going on in the other parts with our offerings and duels. But now as we apply to the, I'll call them game power tokens or Crystal and Jade features that use that normal distribution, going forward, 25% of those fees will be burned. Now the other buckets to be aware of are the dev fund bucket, which was previously 50, the jeweler and the quest fund, which I think the jeweler was 15 and the quest was 30. What we're looking to do here is not touch the player specific buckets of jeweler and quest fund, and really just allocate from that 50% bucket going to the dev wallet. So the new breakdown as a result would be burn bucket up from 5% to 25%, dev wallet bucket down from 50% to 30%, and then quest fund 30 unchanged, jeweler 15% unchanged. So as we look at the market we're in, we look at the needs for the tokens, we felt like this would be a positive impact on our game tokens and the related economy. Didn't really quite make sense for any features that would be using Jewel alone, though. So what we're going to be doing going forward, and this will be reflected on our tutorials and guides, is to have a set approach that is different for the features that heavily use Crystal and Jade and those that will use Jewel. For now, Jewel is just going to use the old standard normal distribution with the lower burn of 5%, given the vast difference in tokenomics between the two tokens. So more will come out on this to make it a little bit more clear, but to say it more simply, the existing schedule will continue to apply to Jewel for now, and as new features come out, we'll specify if anything there changes. And for all the existing game features using Crystal and Jade, those will be updated within the next week to increase that burn from 5% to 25%, with no other game player buckets touched. I'll pause there for any on stage that might want to add some context or clarity to my overview. Hopefully it was clear enough, but I'll pause. Anybody want to add?
I'll just add that we'll also get it updated in the docs as well.
Cool. Did we lose Fox? He might have been going to unmute and then maybe dropped. Well, if he hops back in, wants to say anything, that'd be great. But hopefully people understand the logic behind this change and are excited about the overall impact over time that it can have. Going to be kind of light on discussing all the whys on this call because don't want to dive too much into the intent there. Just more so, initially the 1% burn was appropriate for the market we were in. As we were going into a different market, increase that to 5%. And for a while now, have seen a need to increase it further. And we are, pulling the trigger on that and going to be implementing it shortly. Fox, we saw that you dropped when I asked if others had comments. Did you want to make a comment here, or shall we move on to the next update? He's gone. He might be having connectivity issues as he's traveling. So, Bolon, back over to you.
Thank you, good sir. Let's see. Next update, we are going to go to everybody's favorite dude, the Beetle Dude.
Hey, that's me. Now, Bolon, is this the update? Just kidding.
Well, it's whatever else you want to add.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I've got a couple things. So I guess one, maybe the headliner for this week, every week, any week is the bazaar. The bazaar. How bizarre. Sorry, I had to do it. So typical, the goat that he is has been working hard on the bazaar feature. There is a ton of work that's going into this from pretty much every department on the team. We had a ton of input, obviously, from the contracts and Fox, Pinecone with the API, and typical, and then a ton of testing from our awesome testers like Winston and Mr. Zipper. So still pushing forward. I think we talked that we were hopeful for a this week release, but it's looking more like it should be next week. There are just some small tweaks and things to get everything buttoned up exactly how we want it. We want to make sure that when we release it, everything is working as expected, that there are any bugs that will pop up. I think hopefully everyone's used to at this point. Our team very, very careful in making sure that everything is looking pretty smooth before we release stuff. And big props to our testing team for making sure that happens. They are amazing at what they do and always catching tons of things, and that means that you don't have to catch those things when you're using it. So super excited for that feature. We are getting very close, and we will be keeping everybody posted on that as soon as it's ready to go and getting it into your hands as soon as you can. But like I said, I think we're shooting for a next week release as soon as we can button up these final pieces. And yeah, just know that those folks that I mentioned before are working really hard and just continuing to push forward and get that out as quick as we can. So props all around, I'd say. And then I guess as a way to assuage folks for this week, we are looking at a release for the combat testing ground, either today or tomorrow at the latest. I have to make up for it, Bolin. I know that people expect much from me. So we have a lot of fun things that are going into the CTG. I don't know how much of it I want to spoil ahead of time, but I think in general, I'll just say that it's just an upgrade across the board, making things run a lot smoother, and adding some nice little goodies here and there that should hopefully make it a more interesting experience for people. I'm excited about it. I think it's a great step forward on what we already have, and should hopefully get people engaged again in what's going on there. Do I drop the alpha? Bolin, do I drop the alpha? Do I drop some alpha?
25%.
25%. Let's just say basic tax are back on the menu, boys. That's all I'm gonna say. All right. Well, I think that's the main thing. Yeah, basic tax is back on the menu. But keep an eye out for that. We'll be releasing it. I honestly can't remember all of the things that have been added because there's so many. So keep an eye out. Oh, I will say, I guess to Wowie, I'll say, isn't it about time to release some CTG updates? All right, was that cryptic enough? Cool. Well, I think those are the main things on my end. And with the application pillar, we're just keeping on, and keep an eye out in the next day or so for those updates, and play the heck out of it. Back to you, Bolon.
They have no idea what's coming.
Eh.
Let's see. Fox, how's your internet?
Honestly, it's struggling, I think, so I'll do my best.
Well, you sound great, so just don't click anything else on your computer. You want to go ahead and do your update?
I probably should avoid the chat channel because you guys are posting so many awesome memes that it's slowing me down.
Channel, yeah.
Updates. So the bazaar, which was already talked about, so that's exciting. We're getting really close on that. Shout out to our testers and also to our amazing front-end devs, especially T-Rex, typical T-Rex. He's amazing. And Hubert as well for his help with the code. He always is there to make sure that I'm not about to do anything stupid. So it's been fun. There's a lot of things that we kind of threw in towards the end just to really make sure it's really polished and a good user experience. So I'm really pleased with where it's at. Aside from that, Duels Season 5, I've been pretty busy on. I know a lot of people are waiting on that, and we've got a really cool feature I'm working on that I'm super stoked about. I don't know how much of it I want to spoil ahead of time, but I'll just say that everyone I've told it to on the team is like really excited about it. I think it's just a really cool new way for players to compete, and also for there to be like a new angle for earning like rewards and having interactions in a more direct way with other players. So I'm stoked about that. That added feature does add a whole new dimension to duels, and that's sort of why it's taking longer. So sorry about that. Please bear with us, but I think the wait is going to be worth it. So yeah, that's what I'm most busy with right now at this moment. And I think I won't drop any more alpha than that, and I will die on that hill. So I'll see you guys when you see it next week, or actually the following week. I think might be more, because we want to ensure that there's a lot of alpha on that, so, or alpha testing, that is. But yes, thank you. I think that's all for my updates.
Awesome. Man, Beetle Dude gave him 25%. Fox gave him about 5%. So I like it. But yeah, no, I'll just say Fox is right. It's going to be a really cool feature. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's worth a little bit of a wait. So stay tuned. Let's see. Hubert, anything you want to touch on?
Hey guys, I don't have too much at the moment. I guess, yeah, everyone's kind of talked about things that I've been working on as well, so not much to add. I guess I will mention with the Bazaar, I think we were, maybe I'll drop this as alpha, unless it has already been announced, but we do plan to have that use Jewel as the token of trade for that. So if that hasn't been announced, that was something that we were wanting to mention. But yeah, besides that, I continuing to work on the combat system and working with Wisdom for all of that. And yeah, we have a lot. I'm really excited for this update that Beetle teased a little bit. I think that's going to be really good, and it's putting us a good step forward on that. So excited to see all your guys' reactions to it. But yep, that's all for me.
I'm also very excited for that. Let's see. Magnus, anything you want to touch on?
Yep, I've got a couple things here. So I don't have too much to report on the game-related side. I'm not at liberty to drop some alpha currently, but more to come on that in future weeks. I mentioned Supra last week. I'm currently working on the integration of their VRF v2 offering into a few of our core contracts. So that will lead to kind of like better security around the randomness, as well as potentially make the UX a little better, collapsing some of the multi-transaction items we have into a single transaction. So I think it'll just make it will make it necessarily faster, but it'll make it kind of less user submitted transactions to get those through. So hopefully I could get that wrapped up this week in testing, and then the release will be TBD pending some mainnet verification. But that's what I'm working on this week.
Very nice. Thank you, Magnus. All right. Questions. So first question is going to be for the friskiest of foxes. Any thoughts on limiting duels to Sarandale to relieve some gas pressure on Crystal Vale?
It certainly would help on that front, but I feel like it would be a miss, because there's a lot of our players do enjoy playing duels on both realms. I'm wondering how many people would actually be in support of a feature like that. And that's because there's two separate leaderboards, two separate rank pools and things that like you can earn. So there's just basically twice as much play opportunity between both realms. And I would like to see things in the future where there's certain like divergences amongst them, in terms of like perhaps there might be events or things in one realm or in the other one. So like you might have a more of like a time-based like reason to play on one versus the other at different times. And Cujo, yeah, alternating seasons on some realms so they don't overlap, or so that there's not any like just plain like downtime, is another thing we've talked about. So yeah, I mean there's all kinds of interesting things. I wouldn't want duels to just be a one realm thing though, because there's just so much there, and it's one of the main use cases for the power tokens on our realms, and each realm has power tokens, so it's important that there's a lot of those, and we would like to add more in the future as well. So yeah, that's how I stand right now. I don't really see it being a good plan right now, but there's things we can do that should help there. So hopefully that answers that question.
I'm going to say it does. The ruling has been passed out. Yes. Let's see. So the next question was what currency will the bazaar be in and how the fees will be rolled back into the ecosystem. We kind of already talked about that, but just to, I guess, recap. So the fees will be in Joule, and then they will follow the distribution schedule that we have today, because Joule will remain on that schedule. So the 5% burn, 50% dev fund, 30% quest fund, and 15% jeweler. So as far as how they roll back into the ecosystem, 30% to the quest fund and 15% to the jeweler. Hubert, did I get all of that right? And is there anything you want to add?
Nope, that's all right. Nothing to add from me.
Yes, I passed the Hubert test. Let's see. Can we sell locked tokens in the bazaar? Hubert, you're welcome to speak to this, but the answer is no. No, we are not building a market for locked tokens. All right. Next question, which is a Hubert question, which I am not going to be answering because Hubert is. Let's see. So in terms of like long term for heroes overall, will potions be always necessary, or will poison fade, mana regenerate, health regenerate, that kind of thing?
Good question. Yeah, so I guess the question isn't I guess clear on if it's talking about like within combat or without. I guess assuming if it's talking about just without, where you'd go and fight and then would you need to recover, or would you automatically be recovered? I guess I'll say for like the philosophy with dungeons and like more longer form like fights of waves of enemies. Definitely in that case, things like damage and MP usage will be carrying over, and so you'll need potions to be able to recover those, or unless there's some other means available. Outside of combat, currently the leaning is more towards a full recovery just to reduce complication, but that is still something that we're investigating and determining if that's for sure the right choice. And I think it could also change just depending on like how many features we have. Maybe in the beginning, when we have more limited features with combat, it would be just a full recovery. But then once we got more, more dungeons, more content happening, that may be something that we change to then be something where you actually do have to recover after combat. But yeah, that's still more to come on that once we get to that point. So.
Thank you, Hubert. Let's see. Okay, another combat question for you. If a hero is taunted by an enemy who is out of the hero's range at the time of the taunted hero's turn, what happens on the taunted hero's turn?
Yeah, so that is one of the things where I don't know that we've programmed taunt yet, but we have talked about that range issue, and I think I think we still need to finalize. But what we've last discussed on that and we're planning on was to have there be like an accuracy reduction and allowing the taunted hero to still be attacked even if they're outside of their range. And the amount of accuracy reduction would be tied to like how far out of the range they are. Yeah, that's we don't really want to create a situation where you just can't do anything with the hero just because they're out of range. That's not a very cool mechanic. So that's currently where we're leaning on that.
Little alpha drop. Let's see. So, displaying of gardening APR, there's a question around, would it be possible to have essentially in that display a second APR that shows like what the APR could be if you were also running gardeners in that pool, acknowledging that your return depends on your gardeners, so it would likely be a range, but like what kind of boost your APR could get by running gardeners in that pool, and displaying that on the pools themselves where we display the APR currently. Thoughts on that, Hubert or Beetle Dude?
I guess that is pretty complicated, especially with the issue of there being, different quality gardeners and gardening bonuses from pets and different things like that. Like to show something, we probably need to show some sort of range. But I mean, it's possible. I don't know that that's something that we would prioritize. I think it would take a good deal of work to put that in. So, but yeah, Vito, I don't know if you want to add any more to that.
No, I think you said it pretty well. Yeah, thanks, Hubert.
Awesome. Let's see. Next question. How can the team better improve in-game economics? I'm just going to pause there. Actually, how can the team better improve in-game economics? Fox, I think you'd had some thoughts.
Yeah, so we have a entire committee dedicated to this, and each week I feel like it's our longest meeting. So we think a lot about in-game tokenomics and supply and demand and like increasing like utility for our in-game tokens. Those are all very important. Making sure things stay in balance, and adjusting here and there as we need to. I think that's about all I can say on this topic. Obviously, there's a lot of effort and time and thought that goes into it, and we do have to be careful about things that we say here, because at the end of the day, it is a very free market that's within our game, and the players provide the biggest input to that, which is awesome. And I think that's really what sets this whole project apart from so many others, is the control that our players have over things like that. So I'm super stoked about that, and that's all I'll say on that part there.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's see. So, will Halliday's social sign-on support sign-in with Ethereum or via using an ENS address? Magnus?
Yeah, so they mentioned it's currently not available in their SDK, but it's something that's on their roadmap, particularly I guess like recognizing ENS addresses, and then more kind of a down the line, they've started investigating the sign in with Ethereum ERC that's related to that. So yeah, not currently available, but definitely on their roadmap.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Let's see. How close is DFK's mobile game infrastructure in regards to launching on the Google Play Store? Beetle, you want to touch that one?
I don't want to touch that one with a 10-foot pole bowl on. No, I think we're making strides towards that having less blockers than it did before, but mobile app isn't really on our roadmap at this current time. I know we've talked about possibly having like a companion app or something, but yeah, I think porting everything over into a mobile app would be quite a bit of work, and probably not something that's in the scope of our current development cycle, I would say.
Yeah, makes sense. And as a reminder for anybody who wasn't listening last week, Halliday's the wallet integration with Halliday will allow us to go mobile native browser. So there are steps in that direction, right? But it make the mobile experience a lot easier already, which is good.
Are there SDKs for like more native type things too? I swear I've seen some, but I'm just saying I don't necessarily think we're limited on that front, and I think there's a lot of things we could do. So stoked about that possibility.
Absolutely. Good things in the future. Let's see. So, question for Duels / idea. Any thoughts, Fox, on having it to where when a player reaches a new rank, they're actually provided with options for the rank reward, and they get to select which option they would like for that reward.
I guess I opened my mouth and now I got a question. So, yeah, let's see. This one is interesting because, at first blush, I'm like, okay, that's a lot of work to add to the front end, for new UIs for selecting and then for the contract side, having the options to have a lot of different things. We'd also have to rethink a lot of the rewards. So for sure, a lot of effort would need to go into that. As far as the payoffs, I think it's interesting because there are certain ones we've done now where we have like stones, for example, and there's strength stones, there's wisdom stones, etc., etc. And we can't just easily say, okay, for this rank you get a strength stone, because then other people that don't want a strength stone would be like, well, that sucks. But having the ability for people to choose one or the other would be very interesting. And it would avoid the current approach we have right now, where it's just like, let's just give them one of each or something for certain ranks, when someone might not need those other ones or might not really want them as much as others. So it would allow us to be more creative in certain ways with the ranks, and say for like a lower rank, you could choose one, instead of having sort of all 8 or something. So I do like it. The more that I think about it, at first I was like, no, and then as I think about it more and more, it's like, yeah, that would be kind of cool. I will say that it's probably not going to make it in time for season 5, because it will have all those requirements for all of the like refactoring, and I'm trying to do things that are lighter on the front end people, because they've got so many things they're working on right now. It's just crazy. So yeah, I'll say it's probably a possibility for season 6 or something.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's see. Beetle Dude. Any thoughts on adding a quick select at the top of the hero view page, for the 6th back page of the heroes, which is the hero history page?
Indeed. Yeah, that's a great idea. Not sure why we haven't done that. Yeah, I think maybe the history was a little limited before, but I think it's much better now. So I think it would make sense to do that. Putting it on the list.
Thank you, sir. I don't know how you can even reach the bottom of that list. It's got to be at least 40 miles long by now.
It is a little tall.
You got to go on a road trip to go add something. Let's see. Question for Hubert. Long-term question regarding lands and heroes. I think we've touched a little bit on this before. Any thoughts on having like a conquest type element where players could invade lands?
Yeah, there are some thoughts. I don't really want to share too much, as we're kind of far away from that point, but we do have kind of loose plans for there being kind of a larger scale PvP system. But yeah, that's pretty far out. So at the moment, we're mostly focused on just getting our combat system all squared away and taking it one step at a time. So I don't want to say exactly how that would potentially work, but we do have something along those lines kind of planned.
Nice. One more question for you. So thoughts on having basically like a insanely limited drop of a rarer item like a greater crystal, that is applied across all quests, but on a rate to where we would expect like 10 to be found from all quests in a month.
Yeah, so that's an interesting idea. I think we would have to refactor a bunch of things with how we do randomness if we did that. Just like if we have extremely small chances, we also have to use much larger numbers, and that can kind of require a bunch of refactoring if we did that. So I guess I'm not that inclined to do something that would be like quest wide, but I am interested in there being more very rare things that appear in new content. That's some of the things we've been kind of planning on. So, yeah, I don't expect us to make a change of that nature to everything, but you may be seeing like ultra rare things again in future content. So.
Nice. Yeah, Fox also mentioned in chat, but I'll repeat it here. If we add that extra role, it also adds more gas usage because it has to do that role. So there's a constant balance there as well. Let's see. Oh, apparently it's Hubert Hour, and I didn't even realize. Will there ever be a class above Exalted? For example, once the other side of the hero tree is complete, there'll be another Exalted. Would you be able to summon the new Exalted with a Dread, or do a summon with the new Exalted and a Dread for a shot at a higher class?
Yep, that would be the Transcendent tier, and yes, that would be possible, and that is the plan once we get to that point.
Oh, good. Here's another one for you. This one's a little more open-ended, so I'm just going to let you say whatever you'd like, as if I have any control anyway. How does the team balance between making PvP as fair as possible and honoring the uniqueness of each hero?
That's a fun question. Yeah, so I think it's going to be an ongoing battle. I think that's something you see in a lot of other games where there's a lot of different like classes and things that you can use. Where for a while one thing might be seen as a little bit superior to others. One thing I think is great about our system is that you have 3 different heroes that you can use in combat. So there's kind of a limited set of options that you can use at a given time, and because all the different classes have so many different ways that they interact, I think for any given strategy someone has, I think there could be a counter strategy built for it. So while one class may be better at doing like physical damage than another, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's imbalanced per se. And we're just going to need to be kind of continually looking at for points where it's like, okay, this is way too overpowered, this is too underpowered, and looking to make tweaks as we go. But at the moment, with how we're in the process of developing the combat system, as well as developing the that's also part of it, but like developing the skills and also like just building the engine itself, we need to get a little bit further along so that we have more classes with their skills in place and everything working so that we can find any areas for that. So at the moment, we're just looking to, like, as we're designing, making sure that the numbers we're using are kind of in the same range and that we're thinking about, differences in weapons and things like that. But yeah, balancing is going to be an ongoing thing. I guess one other thing I will say that just maybe to reassure people, maybe not for other people, but just my preference in like game design and games that I've seen and played in the past is I prefer classes to be unique versus like everything kind of grinding down to their it's the same the same thing just in a different wrapping. So that's kind of the direction that I'm going to be pushing for constantly as we go forward, is to maintain uniqueness among all the classes.
That seems like a good place to throw out there. Don't open to broken mechanics. Balancing will be ongoing. Let's see. Any thoughts on adding another quest type with no item drops, but it gives more XP than training quests and potentially a stat bonus?
And besides the stat bonus, that sounds like combat. But yeah, stat bonuses, that sort of thing. Like if we did it, it would have to be something where it could only be done like a certain number of times per hero, and then you're locked out from it. The whole game is being designed with the limits of the heroes in mind, and if we do things where those limits just become unlimited, that it breaks everything. So always trying to be very thoughtful on when we allow stat increases to occur, how we control those. and keeping it to a degree that doesn't like make things become very imbalanced. So I guess not saying it will never happen, but if it did, it would be something where it would be kind of a limited thing that heroes could only benefit from a certain number of times, and then they wouldn't be able to anymore.
Nice. Let's see. Thoughts on having a hero treat. So kind of along the lines of a pet treat, but with higher input to create the treat. That would potentially like gatekeep a special type of quest that gives some kind of different reward or some kind of like temporary boost to the hero.
Yeah, we do have things kind of planned that are not necessarily the same as that, but they are kind of similar in function as far as like what they would do or what was suggested they would do in the question. It being a treat versus something else, that's something to think about. But I'm not sure I really can comment much further than that at the moment.
Fair enough. Mixing it up from Hubert Hour, Dreamer. Any thoughts on the recent ruling of XRP?
Put me on the spot there. I think that, if people aren't aware of some of the current events going on, this maybe is just a good opportunity to say it's a really interesting story to follow. There's been major updates along the way. We're paying close attention to it, and there will probably be more to come. So got to be careful about how much we share like opinions on these things, but interesting development so far. Please go look it up if you're in the space and aren't aware of it. And yeah, we'll leave it at a no answer there, Bolon, if that's good with you.
Yep. Always gotta watch ourselves. I mean, I guess kind of in a similar vein. Any thoughts on this Dreamer or anybody else? Any thoughts on BTC DeFi and if we would consider BTC for a potential realm one day? I mean, I'll just say I will be honest. I haven't been tracking what's happening in BTC DeFi. As far as expansions go, we really don't plan chains that far ahead of time because a lot of things happen. A lot of things happen very quickly in the crypto world, and so it doesn't make sense to say, we're going to build here in 2 years because there's just no telling what those 2 years hold. Fox?
Yeah, I'll just add some random thoughts, but I've been following a lot of the things they've been doing for BTC recently, and there's a lot of cool things being built around that. Ethereum was so groundbreaking when it was first released because of all the things that are possible with smart contracts. And a lot of people think of like BTC as like the OG, like decentralized blockchain, open ledger. Those are all really awesome things that were done by them. And then Ethereum was sort of like, let's bring this to the next level. And we've seen recently that a lot of the things that have been awesome about Ethereum ecosystem have been ported over in some way or another to Bitcoin. Like they have NFTs now and things like that. Even like ENS-ish stuff. And who knows where that will go in the future. I think there's exciting things. That said, Bitcoin can already be ported to a lot of ecosystems that have smart contracts by just wrapping it. And so it's already exposed to like a lot of DeFi in a very real way. I wonder what kinds of differentiation you might see from some of the features in the future. And it's hard to speculate there, but I would say like we're not just focusing on Solidity forever. Like there's a lot of blockchains out there, a lot of different technology and languages. even Solidity itself is ever evolving. We always want to stay on the cutting edge of things and explore just sort of the whole decentralized world. So DFK is going to transcend a lot of these things. So who knows? It's more just like amusing right now. Right now, there's definitely no plans of that because there is no way to do that right now for a lot of our features. But who knows in the future?
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. For whoever would like to take it, any thoughts on raising the base cost of summoning? Hubert, you're gonna make me volunteer you?
Hubert's going to talk
sorry.
about it. He probably will. Oh, I'm just calling him out that he will.
Oh, nice.
I was waiting to see if someone else wanted to say something. I think we've mentioned before. I mean, with things like changing summoning costs and cooldowns, something that we would want a community vote for. So, while I think it may be worth doing, just personally, I think that's one of the things that I think our community would need a vote on. So I think if we can get enough, if there is enough support for that sort of thing, we could have an official vote for something like that. Kind of along the same lines of what we did with the cooldown, where we voted and looked like there was not enough support at the time for that. But future votes could have us revisit that, or also look into this topic as well. I don't know if anyone else has more to say.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Dreamer.
I was just gonna say it's kind of hard because we're definitely not trying to at the point we move it once, then we're gonna have to maybe move it again. So let's say that we're in a different world and prices are maybe higher than what people think they should be to summon. There might be a request to lower the cost or to adjust it again. And then the more we do to like meddle with that in different markets, the more of a argument that we are meddling, which we're really not trying to do. We're trying to have like a very participant driven market with price discovery and ongoing movement of those inputs. So I mean, at extremes, there could definitely be a call for it, but I definitely agree it would not only include but probably closely partner with like community input. But the thing is, during the bull market, there is some that had the view that it should come down, and we were cautious not to mess with that because of the knock-on effects it could have. No, we didn't hold a vote either, but anything's possible in the future. But I just wanted to really emphasize that kind of a change wouldn't be done without a lot of input and consideration and likely a community vote, because we've avoided it in the past for a few important reasons around stability and predictability of the dev team.
I'll also just throw something out that we've spent a lot of time internally talking about this as well. And I just want to second all those things said by Dreamer and others. But I think it'd be cool, to explore things that are more dynamic, like what we've done for some of our other features, where it will basically automatically increase or decrease based on usage. Not necessarily for summoning, but just for stuff in the future as we launch. We've sort of like observed what works well and added like little tweaks and stuff here and there so that it will continue to be in balance. A lot of those have been the brainchildren of Hubert. Even the way that the quest fund itself works is his genius at work there with how that works. So a lot of things are really dynamic, and we'll probably see more of those in the future as well.
Yep. Yeah, I was going to say something similar about just the can of worms. Got to be careful about what you change in different times, because once it's changed, it can always be changed. But in general, if there are ecosystem things ecosystem things like that people feel like, should be changed or should be looked at, we're here to listen to the community. So that's where, take that idea, see if others support it. If they do, then it's something that, you know, can be looked at, but it would definitely be something, you know, that would need community support. Let's see. So I'm gonna only grab one more, and then we're gonna wrap up for the week because we're coming up on time. But one last one for Beetle Dude. In the gardening rewards screen, any thought on adding which garden the heroes quested in?
That sounds perfectly doable.
Add it to the list.
All my questions are just tasks to add to my list.
Yeah, pretty much.
I like it.
It's my favorite part.
Fair enough.
Awesome. So yeah, any other questions that we did not get to, we will take next week. So they will not be forgotten, but we are going to go ahead and wrap up this week so that we have a chance for anybody who wants to make final comments to make those final comments. I will make a final comment that I made earlier of don't ape into broken mechanics because it's now my tradition. But aside from that, really excited for a lot of the things that are coming and a lot of things that are coming in the shorter term. So there's a lot of really cool stuff with the Bazaar, the CTG updates, next season of duels, but then also, you know, the holiday integration, and then also things longer term as well. We will be bringing more and more good news to all of you folks. So very, very excited for that. It is a good looking future. With that, let's go around. Let's see, who hasn't bullished us recently? I feel like Hubert hasn't bullished us in a while, so we're going to go to him last for a bullish as well. Magnus, anything you want to add? Any final thoughts?
Nope, nothing else for me.
Dude of Beetle?
I feel like I should cut out now before you add more tasks to my list.
Oh, don't worry,
Yes.
I'll send them to you.
Excited. Good stuff coming. Keep yourselves posted.
Nice. Fox.
Just want to say thank you to everyone. You guys are great. Also, our team. Just want to say thank you to everyone for all your hard work. And yeah, thank you.
Dreamer.
Yeah, happy to be back on an AMA, and I know that there was a couple things that were hinted to from Beetle and Fox. I'm excited for people to see those. We will likely be dropping some things on socials related to those, so look out for those. But I agree, Fox was a little bit light on the alpha tips and hints there. Bolon, I don't know if you have anything to add, or if you're a fan of. Well, maybe this gives you the away. Never mind. I was going to do a Hank Hill quote, but I won't. Anyway, over to you, Bull, on the closest out. Or wait, Hubert? I forget who's next, but
Hubert.
bullish on things that are new. And I'm glad I didn't give anything away.
All right. Well, I got to channel my inner pine cone here and give us all a nice bullish.
That was a great
Bullish.
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 Bullish!